Do you ever feel stuck in your head, overthinking every decision, just waiting for that perfect moment? If you're an ambitious professional or entrepreneur who's been through burnout, career pivots, or just feels misaligned and unsure of your next move, this episode is exactly for you. You're going to learn how to break free from that cycle, rebuild your confidence, and start trusting yourself again, even before you have all the answers. Welcome back to the Champion Mindset Collective. I'm your host, Tanny Diep. Today's conversation is about those moments when you feel stuck, when you overthink, second guess yourself, and wait for certainty before taking the next step. But what if waiting to feel ready is the very last thing holding us back? Today's guest, Tanny Diep, knows what it means to start over, from corporate sales to fashion, yoga, and eventually building a seven-figure beauty brand. Her journey has been one of trust, courage, and aligned action. This episode is about breaking free from overthinking, learning to trust yourself again, and taking the next step even when you don't know or have all the answers. Tanny Diep specializes in helping people navigate uncertainty, overthinking, career changes, burnout, and self-doubt by guiding them back to self-trust. Her own journey is a powerful blend of personal growth, entrepreneurship, and reinvention. He moved through several career pivots, from corporate sales to fashion and yoga, and ultimately to build a highly successful seven-figure beauty brand. She did this by learning to stop waiting for the perfect clarity and instead by taking brave, aligned steps forward. Her work truly sits at the intersection of self-trust, confidence, and feminine leadership, and the courage it takes to start again when your path no longer feels aligned. Tanny, it's great to have you on the show. Welcome to the Champion Mindset Collective.
Hi, Anthony. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very happy to be here.
It is an absolute pleasure. And I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Me too.
Tell us a little bit about your journey from childhood to now. How did you get here?
Yeah, well, I was raised in San Diego, but I was born in Vietnam, and I came to the States when I was only 2 years old. So born to an immigrant family. My dad was a war veteran. He fought in the Vietnam War, and we were able to come here through the refugee program. And growing up, my parents are very traditional Vietnamese, and my dad suffered from PTSD from the war, so he was more quiet, kept to himself a lot, and my mom was always working. My mom was a nail technician for almost 30 years. So growing up, I rarely saw them. They were always working, and the thing with them was they were not the typical Asian stigma parents that you have to be perfect and everything is like an A or nothing, but they were pretty supportive. They still instilled hard work and good work ethic and everything. They always, no matter what, they always told me I needed to do my best, try my best, and be my best. And they didn't put a whole lot of pressure on us, but I think because they gave us a lot of trust, it motivated us to do well. So I am the middle child of 3, and everything they say about the middle child is true about me. So
What did they say?
I was still a bit of a black sheep troublemaker and I liked to be the center of attention and obviously didn't get enough attention from my parents. So I was out there making a lot of friends, social butterfly. And my parents were also very social people. They had people over every weekend, karaokeing, drinking and partying. So I grew up around a lot of people all the time. So I was used to that. But I was very ambitious from a young age. I remember I wanted to be a doctor when I was younger because they said doctor, lawyer. You have 2 options from your age. So I said, okay, I'm going to be a doctor. I want to help people, right? And I want to make a lot of money. So shoot for the stars. And as I grew up, I did everything that I was supposed to do. I was a straight A student. I was ASB president. I ran track. I was very social. So I got a full scholarship to San Diego State for business marketing. And in that first year of college, I actually got a little too caught up in the social scene and joined a sorority and met a guy and ended up falling into academic probation 2 semesters in a row. And I lost my scholarship and got kicked out of school.
Mm.
You can imagine the disappointment from my parents. And I thought they were going to be more mad, to be honest. My dad didn't talk to me for a little while, but they tried to encourage me and they just said, look, if school is not for you, that's okay. But whatever you do, you just need to figure out something that you actually like, because they knew me better than I knew myself. My dad actually told me, he said, you are not going to be a doctor. I know you. He was like, you're not going to go to school for 20 years and you're going to get bored and you're going to go try to find something else to do. And they were right. Honestly, I think I found out early on about myself. When I was in high school, I worked so many odd jobs and I could never stick to anything unless I really enjoyed it. Right. So after that first year in college, I was working just all sales and marketing jobs. I love to talk. I'm a people person, so naturally I'm good at sales, right? I worked for AT&T selling cell phones, retail, and then ended up moving to their corporate office and becoming a corporate trainer. So I was doing that all throughout for the first couple of years. And then I decided, you know what? I want to go back to school. I don't want to do this forever. And I didn't love working in the corporate offices either. So I decided to study fashion design. And I'm naturally a creative soul. I love to dance. I love to sing. I love to draw, and music, art, all of those things, fashion really inspire me. So I decided to go back to school and get a degree in fashion design. So I went to the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising. And at the time, once I finished school and I was working for AT&T corporate still, I was making pretty decent money for a young 21-year-old, 22-year-old. And starting over in the fashion industry was like, oh my God, I finally graduated. And then I moved from San Diego to Los Angeles. When I first moved up here, my parents were actually living out of state. They had moved to Atlanta, Georgia for a few years. I went with them for a year, but I came running back to California because I was raised SoCal girl and it was a culture shock for me. I didn't survive Atlanta, Georgia. So I came back and I was staying with an ex-boyfriend at the time. We ended up breaking up. So when I moved to LA, I was practically homeless. I was looking at one of my graduation photos the other day from college. And I remember that same night, I went home and I slept in an air mattress in my friend's living room because
Hmm.
I had nowhere to live and she offered her place. She had just moved into an apartment and it wasn't even furnished. She said, "You can stay in my living room until you get on your feet." So I was living in her living room and then I got a job in the fashion industry as a design room intern making $9 an hour. And as you know, I was like, I'm not going to survive. So I picked up a job serving at night and I picked up a job bartending on the weekends. So just to chase my dream of being a fashion designer, I was working 3 jobs, sleeping on an air mattress in my friend's living room. And working in the fashion industry taught me so much. After the first few months, I was burnt out. So something had to give. I ended up getting fired from the bartending job, my weekend job, because I just couldn't handle it. And I couldn't be from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. every weekend, working Monday to Thursdays, serving at night. So slowly but surely, my boss gave me more hours. She gave me a little bit more, a little bit promotion, more responsibilities, and I was able to quit all the extra jobs. So then I was working full time. And it was a very small company and I worked for a husband and wife team, and my boss was super cool. She was like, she's this Korean American woman that was just so fashionable, very funny, like very hardworking. I call her Dragon Lady because she was like tough. She was amazing, but she was tough. And let me tell you, I was like this 24-year-old party girl when I met her, and I did not have my together and she whipped me into shape. So I owe a lot of my strength and work ethic to her. She really taught me how to build a business, run a business. She taught me how to be tough in an industry that could just chew you up and spit you out. And she had been in the industry for 20 plus years. And I saw her go through so many things because it's one thing to work on the retail side, but then when you work on the manufacturing side, there's so many hands and the supply chain alone, like one t-shirt goes through 20 different people before it becomes an actual shirt that is sold to the masses, like from conception to manufacturing. And at any point, those 20 hands that it passes through, something could go wrong. The more people, right? So there were always production issues. There were always, deadlines and pie pressure. And so it was a lot, but I got to do so many different things. And I think that's where I learned that I like organized chaos. Like I thrive in chaotic environments because I was her design room intern, but I was also traveling with her to do trade shows. And then I had a sales team and I was shooting the photo shoots and I was editing the photos and building the website. So a little bit of everything, right? And it was fun. It was fun for a long time until it started becoming a lot more administrative and less creative. And I think that was when I started to feel the fire inside me slowly go out. And I started yearning for something a little bit more flexible, a little bit more creative. And I was commuting an hour to and from work every day. And I started to feel like it was just work, 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 lather, rinse, repeat. I'm just working for the weekends. And I didn't feel like my purpose was being fulfilled. So
mm,
started thinking about what I could do next. And I starting to get really motivated to want to do something new. And I did that for 10 years, honestly. I worked in the fashion industry for almost 10 years. Felt like I hit my ceiling. I still hadn't hit my income goals because my whole goal for my 30s was I just want to make six figures. I just want to make six figures. That's the bare minimum to survive in Los Angeles. So, and even by the time that I left, I think I was just almost there and I wasn't quite there yet. But when I got into permanent makeup, it was a whole year plan that I was wanting to, from the moment I thought maybe I want to do something different, I gave myself a year to when I could actually quit because it was my safety net. And if I'm going into microblading, permanent makeup, like all the thoughts that were going through my head was, what if it doesn't work out? What if I mess up somebody's face? What can I tattoo of somebody day in and day out? Like, are people actually going to trust me enough to do this? Who does this on the weekdays? Like, am I going to survive? All the questions. But I just decided the more I thought about it and the more work was starting to eat away at me, I decided, you know what? After a couple of months of research, I'm just going to take the leap. I'm going to sign up for the class. I'm going to hold on to my job, see what happens, and go from there.
mm,
So after I signed up for the course and I gave myself, every time I made a move, I created a plan and then I had a goal and I created an action plan with it. So I said, okay, this course gives me 6 months. I'm going to try to finish it in 3. And if I need to finish it in 3, there's 20 levels. I'm going to break this down. I need to finish about 2 levels every week. I need to practice this many times, this many hours every week. And I got to do this at 10 o'clock at night because I'm working all day long and I get home and I'm tired. And so it was months of working full time, practicing late nights, trying to get really good at this skill. I did end up finishing the course in 3 months as I set out to do. And I got my certification and I started taking models and friends and family and started working on them, still holding on to my job. And I didn't even tell my boss that I was doing this on the side until one day I was like falling asleep in a meeting because I was taking clients on the weekends and working 5 days a week. And then she's like, "Are you okay? Like, is everything okay?" And then we kind of got into a conversation about it. And I told her, this is what I've been doing. And luckily, they were very supportive because I had been with them for so long and they were very supportive and they were flexible with my schedule. They let me work 4 days a week instead of 5. And so I could have more time to do this. So I was very grateful. I was very grateful for that support. Meanwhile, I was still very scared and I had to hire my replacement. So I needed to hire 2 people to replace me from that job. I knew that eventually I was going to leave. I just didn't know when because I
mm.
liked them. I still liked the work and I wasn't sure if this new career was going to take off. And I had one toe, straddling the border and I'm like, okay, I got my life here but I want this new life here, but I'm not sure. So everything was going and I had to hire some replacements. And there was a girl that my boss ended up hiring that just we were butting heads every day and I'm her supervisor. And every time we were butting heads, I'm in my head like, why am I even here having this conversation with her? I'm thinking about eyebrows. I'm not even thinking about clothes anymore. And I think about a month or 2 in, we were just getting into it for very unnecessary reasons. And I gave my boss an ultimatum and I said, you know what? I cannot work with her. It's either her or me. And my boss,
Mm,
I love you, but you kind of have one foot out the door. And so I don't know. I think maybe it's best you do your thing. So there I was. And at the time, I was sharing a room in the back of a hair salon with my sister-in-law. So she had rented a space and I was working there on the weekends and I could only use it in the weekday afternoons. So it was very limited. And that was only temporary because she was planning on moving to another space. So right when I quit my job, that space note was no longer available to me. I had no job and I ended up quitting 2 months earlier than I had planned. I thought I was going to leave in December. I ended up quitting in October. And then the fear and the anxiety like washed over me and like almost just enveloped me because I was like, oh my God, I don't have a job. I don't have a space. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I was only taking one client like every Saturday and Sunday. I'm not going to survive. And so I had a meltdown. I just like a mental breakdown, like fear of failure. And my family were very supportive. At that time, my birthday is in November, and I remember 2018, my brother and sister asked me, "Hey, what do you want for your birthday?" Well, first I called around to many other studios to see if they would hire me, and nobody called me back. And my brother said, "Why don't you get one of those Sola Salon suites? Like, they're very popular. Go check them out, little rental suite." And I did. And I ended up finding a space. A new one had just been built near me, not too far away. And I was able to secure a spot there, and it was affordable. And I thought, okay, it's a weekly rental. So if I just get one client a week, that'll pay the rent and everything else will work out. And because of my experience in the fashion industry, like I knew how to sell and market and set up a
Mm,
website and, set up my Instagram and social media. And I did market research on all the other artists that were out there and to see what they were doing and how I could be different to stand out from the crowd and the competition. So I felt confident that by the time I had quit my job, I'd worked on about 35 clients already. So I felt like my skills were pretty good. Now it was just up to me to build this business. My brother and sister bought me my furniture, but they bought me a bed. They bought me a light for my studio. My mom came and helped me decorate it. It was 100 square foot space with no windows, just four walls, a bed, and me. Little chandelier I hung at the top to make it look a little bit more
mm,
decorated. But that was my humble beginning in 2018, getting into microblading. And I remember just being fearful, but I knew that I could trust myself. I knew that if I could work 12 to 15 hours a day for somebody else, helping them build their, that I could do this for myself.
yeah.
And it was going to be hard, but now I had all the time in the world because this was it, my only gig, right?
Mm,
When I got after that first month in my studio, I got really lucky because I had been practicing and practicing and I was just waiting for like my big break. And my first week into my new Sola Salon studio, there was a girl who had, she was 21 years old. She was beautiful, had beautiful green eyes, not a single pore on her face. And when I was taking her pictures, I was already just drooling at the fact that like she was so beautiful. And I'm like, please God, please bless my hand so I can do a really good job on
mm,
her. And if I do, I can use it for marketing. And so I quietly worked on her, finished the appointment. And I was very proud of the work that I did. I thought I did a great job. And I put a little collage together before and after, and I sent it to my sister. And she's my confidant. So she would tell me the truth, like, post it, don't post it. What is this? And she freaked out. She said, "Oh my God, you did this. This is amazing." She said, you're going to blow up. You're going to be on the explore page on Instagram. Like post it right now. And, so with that client, I actually ran an ad, and within the first 10 days of the ad run, I got so many calls and so many bookings. And I ended up filling up my whole first month in my studio with new clients, which was amazing because I made $10,000 that month. And that was the first month ever that I was on track to even remotely making that six-figure goal. And it was honestly like, I thought it was a fluke. I was like, there's no way like that this happened. And after that first month, it was getting into the holidays. So people were asking me, "Are you still going to run this promo through the holidays?" And I said, "Sure, why not? It's the holidays." And then again, after another ad run, I filled up that month and the momentum just kept going, kept going, kept going. So I got booked out for about 2 months, and maybe about 6 months later, my teacher who I had learned from originally, she had branched off from her academy where I learned from, and she started her own academy and invited
mhm,
me an instructor with her new academy. So that was incredible. It was probably one of the best days of my career, having that opportunity, because that gave me a platform and a way to teach. When I knew I wanted to teach, that was my goal, to become a master. And I knew it was going to take me time before I could build out any sort of training course. And here she was. She said, "Here, we've built this course. You just have to take it, sell it, teach it, learn it. You're already doing this method." So it was like, okay. And from there, I knew that I had to find a bigger space. And 6 months after being in that solo salon, I ended up moving to one of the studios that I have now, which is my academy in Artesia, California. And throughout this whole journey, there were things I did along the way, even during when I was working in fashion, halfway through the time in the fashion industry. And I think I mentioned this to you, that I was so stressed out and I wasn't sure if I wanted to even continue in the fashion industry. And I don't think I would have been able to have the patience and the strength that I have now if I didn't take a little side quest because 4 or 5 years into the fashion journey, I decided I wanted to be a yoga teacher. Because I was so stressed out in the fashion industry that I wanted to take yoga classes, and I did never had time to make it there. So I took a yoga teacher training, and that training was 4 months, 200 hours, and it was a very traditional yoga teacher training. I didn't end up being a yoga teacher, obviously, but it changed my life. It was very transformative. I had do a lot of self introspection and a lot of shadow work where things
mm,
I was dealing with and struggling with, and anxiety and pressure and fear, and just it gave me the confidence and the patience that I needed to trust myself, and it was the catalyst to my self-help journey, because from there I became vegetarian. I'm vegan now. And then I was meditating, chanting, and praying to the goddesses, like praying for abundance, praying for all the things in my life. But it also allowed me to be an observer of my thoughts
mm,
and be able to respond versus react, and to think outside of myself. Like before, I would get into my head. If I would get stuck in, difficult situations, I would just buckle and I wouldn't know how to handle it. But after all of that time in the yoga teacher training, I felt like something arises. Now I can step aside, okay, and analyze, why am I feeling this way? What do I do now? Like, what are the next steps? What are the different options I can take? I weigh out everything. And I think just having that mentality, and then starting well, it was a catalyst for my self-help journey. I changed my whole mindset, honestly. I used to be so negative, grew up with very negative conditioning. And I went from hating driving to work in this traffic to like, oh, I'm going to listen to a podcast. I'm going to make use of my time. I'm not going to get angry over this. I'm not going to be reactive. My boss can yell at me all she wants. And I cannot control anything, manage anything that I cannot control. So she's just projecting. So then it just changed my whole mindset, right? So I think slowly but surely that built me a little bit more and gave me the strength that I needed to be brave and okay with starting over, and be okay with not being good at something right away, and just trusting that everything will take time. So here we are today. I don't think I would have been a microblading artist if I didn't take that yoga training, to be honest.
No, well, like all of these pivots, they happen for a reason, right? And they
Yeah.
take us through different phases of our life. Yeah. And what you were saying about before is that I resonated with everything you talked about in terms of fear and anxiety and overwhelm. I've been through that myself, and having done something like 12 weeks of shadow work
Hmm.
to sit with my discomfort, and then actually come out of that going, whoa, I'm a different person now. And also, what I had to learn was to learn to become more present
Yeah.
instead of, yeah, because when you go into the future, that's going to cause anxiety anyway. What I learned through reading The Power of Now, Katoli, is to stay in the present moment. We don't know what we're going to become until we go on this journey, and then we pivot and do different things. Like you said, you went from corporate sales to fashion to yoga, but each one of those would have taught you something
They all
about yourself and also about who you're becoming.
Yes, yes. And every part of it was necessary. In the moment, you're like, what is this? I like it. I don't like it. I'm doing it for the sake of doing it. It's my career. But the corporate sales obviously gave me a lot of training in just direct sales, working with people, understanding the psychology of sales and how to think like a consumer, right? So that's a big one. And then fashion taught me so much about just merchandising, creativity, aesthetics, and building something from nothing almost. Because when I met my boss, and her company was like 3 people, by the time I left, there was like 20 people there. And it built a very thick skin for me because
Mm,
it was tough with all the manufacturing deadline, and like how to manage and overcome difficult situations when things go wrong, right? And then the yoga training taught me patience, how to be present, how to be accountable for your own thoughts and actions, and take control of your own life, because you are
mm,
the person that can manage your own life, manage your own thoughts. Like it's you
yeah,
a lot of times we want to be the victim, blame our environment, blame our upbringing and all of that. And up until that point, I did feel like I was like that. I blamed my parents for not giving me enough attention. I blamed my dad, I had daddy issues. I was very negative and things like that. And I was always just pointing outwards until I sat with myself for those 4 months. And then I'm like, wow, I have the power to change, and I have the power to be who I want to be and be the change I want to be in the world and do something that can give back to other people and be purposeful and find my own fulfillment, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and you would have learned the resilience as well. Each one of those roles that you did would have taught you about resilience as well. But if I reflect back at my journey, it's like I spent 30 years in technology and I went through telco and local government, but everything I've learned, I'm using today in some shape or form in my business or in my podcast. And for years, people used to say to me, you talk too much, you need to shut up. So then I started the podcast and I'm like, well, I don't need to shut up. Well, now I naturally shut up and listen because I'm taking it in. But like, it's my podcast, so I can talk if I want to.
Yeah.
So I said, no one's ever going to tell me to shut up now because it's my podcast.
I'll show them. Tell me to shut up and start a podcast.
Yeah, it's interesting how, like you said, people project and you got to set your boundaries and you got to learn to not take everyone else's stuff that's coming at you. Also, like you said, you got to sit and observe yourself and going, where am I playing a victim? Where am I blaming? And where am I below the line where I could be taking responsibility and I'm above the line, right? And so you did that, and I've done the same thing. I have a ex-partner. We had a daughter. She's 12 years old, and I learned so much through that relationship. And okay, when I left, it wasn't that clear, but as I did the work and I reflect back and I go, whoa, we weren't meant to be together, but we were meant to be in each other's lives because each of us was going to teach something to each other. And today we have a co-parenting relationship 11 and a half years later, or 11 years later, where we're still friends. We still, we're like family. So we're always connected to our daughter and we're like family. So I was going to ask you what was going on for you as you were transitioning between the careers, and what did you feel like were some of the signals that earlier on that you may not have seen, but that you then observe later on?
I think internally, my family, we weren't poor, but we weren't rich. I don't even know if we were like probably lower middle class. It didn't feel like it at the time, but looking back now, I'm like, my dad was making like $10 an hour. My mom was making, like, they weren't making a lot of money. We had enough, but I think part of me always wanted more, always wanted to give them more, always wanted, the best things in life. And my dad, he always would tell us the story of my grandparents who were aristocrats. They were very well off in Vietnam, very wealthy. They grew up with a very wealthy, cushy life. They had 10 siblings with 10 nannies, and it was that kind of life. And my dad, when he told me about that, and he said everything was taken away from us in the war. And he said, you come from a very good background, a good family, educated, all of this stuff. And he said, you have the capacity to build more for yourself. And we're here because we're trying to give you that opportunity. So I felt like I owed it to myself. I owed it to them, owed it to my grandparents to do something great, be great, And every time I was working in doing something, I would try to find the best, like I would try to maximize my ability in every way, right? And get the best return on what I could offer, get the highest raise, get the highest accolades, whatever I could do. So I think anytime I felt like either I was undervalued or I was doing so much, but I wasn't getting paid what I felt like I was worth, or I was so stressed out inside where the work stopped being fun. Remember,
Mm,
I love fun. And when I stopped having fun and I stopped feeling like I'm earning my worth, because I would push myself. I'm a workaholic and I know that I have an addictive personality, and working is one of those things I'm addicted to. So whether I'm working for somebody else or I'm working for myself, I know that I give 110,000%. So when I start to feel like that was how I started to feel at every job when I wanted something different, was that I'm undervalued. I'm doing more than I am getting paid for, and I'm not happy inside. And because of that, if I start to feel like I'm not able to do things that make me happy, like I don't get to dance or I don't get to sing or listen to music or go out or do yoga or do the things that make me feel nourished, then I start to feel like, okay, something's wrong. Like something's
Yeah.
really right.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I've been in each of the redundancies that I've been through, it's kind of like I've outgrown the role. And it's like I've done such a great job that I've made myself redundant. If I reflect back on it, it was the same for me where I wasn't enjoying it. When it stops becoming fun and enjoy, then it's like the universe goes, well, hey, it's time for you to move on. If you don't take that signal, then it happens the forced way where it's like, okay,
Right.
you have to leave now.
Yeah.
And so for me, what I found was that I wasn't actually aware and conscious of what was going on. I knew that I wasn't happy and I was complaining about stuff or complaining about people, but then I had a choice. I didn't have to stay there. I had a choice. I could just go somewhere else. And the minute I started to look for other work, the redundancy came, right?
Yeah.
Because I've already made an intention that that's where I'm going. And so it's kind of like, as I was saying to you, before this, I was talking to Jim Britt, and this is the exact conversation that we had, is that whatever your intention you have, the universe will conspire and bring the right people, bring the right situations into your path that
Right.
are going to take you into where you need to go. So for you, going from sales to fashion, and you were there for a little while, and then you weren't feeling so fulfilled, and you wanted to, you wanted to look after yourself, so you went into yoga, and then from there, again, you did that, but then you went to something that was familiar with you, which is what your mum did,
Right.
right? Yeah,
After the yoga training, I actually left the clothing company for a little bit
yeah,
because I was on this like journey to peace. So I was like, I want peace. I don't want chaos. I don't want anyone yelling at me. I don't want deadline. I don't want any of this craziness. So I went to work for this handbag company. I left the clothing company and I went to a handbag company, and it was all the peace I had ever wished for. And guess what? I got bored. So I was there for a year and I was doing the same thing, sales and marketing manager, but I was selling handbags, trade shows, travel, working with sales reps, all of it. But their company culture was so much more calm than the previous company that I was with. But that was when I learned that I like chaos.
mm,
I just want to feel valued and I just want to have fun with what I'm doing. So I reconnected with my old boss after a year. I told her I missed her. She missed me. We're like, hey, let's work something out. Why don't you come back? We'll change your role. We'll, give you more money. We'll do all this. Like, and because they realized how much I was doing once I left. And then they really valued me a little bit more. And so they offered me a better role, better pay, come back. We miss you. So I took it and I came back.
mm,
Then 2 or 3 years in, the first year was great. Everything was all good. The second year, they kind of started falling back into old habits. The third year was when I was like, I can't do this anymore. It's like a vicious cycle. So I'm back here. I'm back to where I was. I'm back to feeling unfulfilled, undervalued, all the things. And I wanted to do something different. And again,
mm,
I needed to feel joy in what I was doing. And I wanted
mm,
to help people. I didn't think
yeah,
when you just know you are here for something, like a greater purpose, you're here to serve in some way, shape, or form. And I was just hearing those whispers, like, you should try this, try something else, like do something, go check this out, go to this place. And it could be as small as like going to an event, going to a party, meeting someone new. Like you said, that you get the inclinations to do things that you wouldn't normally do. And then you end up meeting the people that are you're meant to meet that will lead you.
yeah. Your intuition's telling you that, hey, it's not right. So gut's
Right.
telling you, and you
Mm-hmm.
got to feel it with your heart.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to sometimes stop listening to your brain because it's just telling you lies. The brain generalizes, distorts, and deletes information. So, because it can only handle 40 bits of information. And this day and age, we've got so much information coming towards us that we're just bombarded by it. And then no wonder people get overwhelmed and so on, right? But what I was going to ask you was, in your current business in Slow Browse and what you do and the teaching, it seems like it's a lot of fun. How do you, in your own business, how do you stay joyful and happy and fun? How do you make it a fun environment so that you don't feel like I need to do something else now?
Right. When I got into this, and tattooing faces is stressful. Uh, Nobody can tell you otherwise. It's stressful. In the beginning, and I thought about this so much because I would always think, how did I get here? And how do I find so much joy out of this? But this career is like the final boss of all of my careers because everything else like really built me up to prepare me for this. But in the beginning, it was very hard, really, really hard. My first model, forget about it. Horrible, awful. That experience, like I, I, I had practiced for months. And by the time I got to the actual human being I was supposed to tattoo instead of the fake skin that I was practicing on, like I blacked out, my nerves took over, I almost threw up on myself, and I forgot that I was supposed to do. I kid you not. And my second model, even worse. I did an even worse job. I made her brows way too big. It was like a whole thing. She went home, tried to remove some of it herself. So I was like, I don't know if this is for me. And by the third model, it started to get a little bit better. The fourth one got a little bit better. It took me 10 models just to stop, fumbling around with everything that I was doing, finally getting into the flow of it. And my 11th model, my 11th client, the person that I worked on, and I used to keep a spreadsheet of like all the people. So I remember them by number. My 11th client was someone that had a condition called trichotillomania, and she nervously pulled out all her eyebrow hairs. No lashes, no brow hairs since high school. And she was like 30. So she would sneak off in the morning and draw on her eyebrows before she sees her family. And she was very meek and quiet, very low confidence when I met her. And I felt for her. I was like, oh my God, I've never worked on anyone with no brow hair at that point. So I was nervous, but I also really wanted to help her. And I practiced all week long, and she sent me pictures. I really prepared myself, mentally prepared, physically prepared, did everything I could to really deliver results for her. And after I finished her procedure, she looked at the mirror, and when we give them the mirror, we kind of hold our breath because we're not sure what they're going to say. She looks in the mirror and she was quiet, and then she starts crying, and she says, Tanny,
Mm,
are you telling me I can wake up with these eyebrows every day? Like, they look beautiful. You did a great job. You have no idea. Can I give you a hug? She hugs me. And then she said, you just changed my life. And
mm,
I'm crying. We're both standing there crying. And up until this point, I still didn't know if this career was for me. I was still holding on to my job. But when she told me I changed her life over the eyebrow tattoos, like that was a pivotal moment. Like that was a moment I'll never forget. And even I felt so good and so emotional. That night, she went home and sent me this long text message and reiterated her gratitude and just was so appreciative. And she said, I pray for you, and I hope that, your business continues to grow, and you can help as many people in your career as you've helped me, because you really have no idea what this has done for my confidence, my self-esteem. And in that moment was when I said to myself, this is it. This is my calling. This is what I'm going to do. And I worked so hard after that. I practiced, and I promised myself that I would be the best brow artist that I could be so I could help as many people as I can, like her. And after that, I was very diligent in my practices, showed up to work every day with my A game, treat every client, like do my best. And my skills grew. And I remember like, after I moved to my new space, and there was a time where I really felt like I was in my stride, like my mastery was there. Every week, people were crying from emotion of house, and I'm making people happy, and like I'm making so much money, and I'm like, I'm getting to be creative. And then when I work, I just turn on my music and I listen, and I'm just, creating my art, and then I show them the work, and they're happy and crying. Like I was just in heaven. Like honestly, I was doing everything that was fulfilling me, from mentally, spiritually, physically, and pouring out into other people. It's been 8 years of this. I still get these moments where clients are crying. I just worked on a client that survived cancer and had alopecia. Like we do complimentary services now for people who have survived cancer or have no brows and alopecia. And the tears, the emotion when I have these appointments, it's just incredible. So I still
mm.
get to do it now. And then I teach others to do this. I've trained my staff from beginners to masters who are now doing this. And so I still find joy in everything that I do. Every part of it fulfills me in one way or another. And I think ultimately I'm just such a people pleaser. I just love making people happy.
Well, it's meaningful to you, right? But it's also purposeful to you. Whereas the jobs that you've been in weren't purposeful and meaningful for you.
Nobody changed their life over a t-shirt. No.
No, no. But here you're changing people's lives. You are changing people's lives. You're giving them back the hope and the joy. And I do some work for a cosmetic doctor here in New Zealand, and I interviewed him as well. And he says when we work on their faces, it brings back the joy and the happiness in them. So it makes them feel like there is hope. Because a lot of people have gone through different conditions and they lose hope. And what you're doing is providing them a second chance of being able to live a joyful life.
Yeah, it's been an incredible journey, honestly, because this was something that had everything I was looking for. I wanted to make a lot of money. I wanted to have freedom and flexibility. I wanted to help people and I wanted to create art and checked off all the boxes and couldn't have even dreamed this career. Honestly, if you asked me about what I wanted to be 10 years ago, this was not on my radar at all. Never thought I'd be a tattooing faces, microblading artist. But somehow I landed here and it blossomed into something really, really amazing. I'm very grateful for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, sometimes those big career changes or life pivots are seen as failures for a lot of people, but you managed to turn them into stepping stones. How did you reframe those moments of uncertainty or starting over, so they left a less of a setback and more of a part of your path of where you're meant to be,
Yeah.
meant to be going?
I think it's easy to feel like a failure in the moment when you have to quit something or stop something. And I think the first time was when I got kicked out of school and I was like, oh my God, I ruined my life. But yeah, you pivot, and I think my mindset was that if it happened this way, it wasn't meant for me and it wasn't meant to be. And I'm destined for something great and I'll pick myself back up and I'll keep trying. Because had I not had that thread in my path where I dropped out of school, I would have stayed in San Diego. I probably would have just got a corporate job there. I would have worked in sales and marketing, maybe advertising for some company. I never would have moved here. I never would have met my husband. I never would have, met the community that I have here or even followed this path. And so many things never would have happened, right? And so when I think back on the pivots that I made and even quitting the fashion career felt like, oh my God, I paid like $100,000 for school and then now I'm not doing it anymore. But okay, I have this new opportunity here. And I think now that I'm finally here and I can look back on the journey and reflect, every time I let go of something that I thought was my whole world and I started over, the newer opportunity ended up turning out to be something even better than what I had before. And if I was just fearful and I just held on to that life, I never would have known the wonderful life that was waiting for me. And
Mm.
e- even like coming into this career, if I just stuck it out and I just looked at my job like a job and I stayed in the fashion industry, even though I felt stuck, but it was a paycheck and I was comfortable and I was fine, I would have just been there. And then I think about, man, had I not made that leap, I never would have had all this. I wouldn't be
Mm.
here talking to you, Anthony. So I think anyone, if you are feeling stuck and if you feel like a failure for having to start over or to pivot, just know that there's something better for you. This is God's plan. It's meant to happen that way.
Everything's temporary, right? But the situation you're going through, whatever you're going through right now, it's temporary. And I know people say this, and if you're watching this and listening to this, then you might be going, well, hey, it's nice of you to say that, but it's like both Tanny and I have been through many adversities and challenges in our lives. We've chosen not to give up. For me personally, every time in the last 4 years that I've wanted to give up, that title up there, the Champion Mindset Collective, has kept me accountable, and it says, you can't give up. There is no giving up and there is no plan B. You're going this way and that's it. And yes, I've had to pivot. Yes, I've had to pause and get clarity on where I'm going. That's something that you can do is you've got to be able to manage your state. So when you're in a state of anxiety and overwhelm and chaos, you've got to be able to just step back and, as you did, observe yourself and pause, and the answer will come
Yeah.
when we slow down.
What really helped me throughout, ever since I did the yoga training, I started gratitude journaling. So just journaling, like no matter how crappy my life felt in any part of this process, I would just try to be grateful for even like the most bare minimum things, like just waking up in a bed, a clean bed, having a roof over my head, having a family, and day by day, just being grateful for what I have and trusting that there's so much more life ahead of me. There's so many more opportunities and always writing down what it is I want for myself. And it's crazy. I still keep journals around me all the time. When I was 30 years old, this was like I was deep in that space where I didn't want to be. And I was broke, about to get married, like really didn't know what the future was going to look like. And I wrote in my journal, when I'm 35, I'm going to be a homeowner, a mom, and a boss, and a millionaire. And I was light years from it. I had nothing, nowhere close, right? And guess what? By the time I was 35, I had my business. I got pregnant with my son. The year after that, I bought my first home and, we did 7 figures that year in my business. And then when I found that journal entry, I was just like, it was impossible then. But I knew that, hey, one day this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to have. That was what I set out to do. And I didn't know how I was going to get there. But the universe heard me and I just kept showing up, just showed up, did my best. And somehow the opportunities came through.
Yeah, it's like the universe. You place your order to the universe, and the universe says, "Okay, that's the order you've got." But how it gets to you is none of our business. Two, it's like there's going to be different pivots to get there. It's like you've got to put the intention out there,
Hmm.
right? And it's like when you're driving a car and you're going on a destination, you plug into your GPS where you're going,
Hmm.
right? And you know where you want to go.
Right.
So you've got that intention, you've made a decision, and that decision is what the universe will listen to. As you're driving along, there could be an accident on the road, there could be a detour, and this is what life is you're going to go over speed bumps. You don't stop at the speed bump, you slow down and you drive over it. When you're running a hurdle race, you jump over the hurdle. So, or if there's a detour, you're going to go a different way. And that's all life is. But the more intentional we get about what we want instead of what we don't want,
Right.
then the universe conspires and makes it happen. So I really believe that when it's really coming from within you, not just through logic, but it's coming from within you, because what happens is, I hear Dr. Joe Dispenza talking about this, that you have a thought and then you have an emotion and your heart creates the energy. So if it's a positive thought and you want to do something, the heart is the biggest energy center. It creates that energy. It sends a signal to your brain and says, start creating this reality.
Hmm.
Now, if you can observe and change your state of being, then all of a sudden you're now controlling your mind, your brain, not the other way around. And the more you feed your subconscious mind what you want, then, like, have you ever wanted to buy a car or something, and all you see when you're driving down is the same car? I mean, it happened to me. I was going to get a Mazda CX-5, and everywhere I went, all I could see was Mazda CX-5s, and then within a few months, I bought a Mazda CX-5.
Yeah.
So your RAS, which is your reticular articulating system, focuses and zooms into that and starts to look out for that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So now, was there a specific moment where or realization that helped you change how you saw all those experiences that happened in your life?
I think the yoga training was very eye-opening. That was the
Yeah.
moment that I allowed me to reflect and I think to forgive myself because I was feeling a lot of guilt and shame over not finishing college and then spending so much on school. And then now I'm like unhappy with my career again. And then I'm going to disappoint my parents and my family's going to be disappointed in me. So I think sitting with all of those thoughts and letting it come to me and acknowledging it and forgiving myself and just telling myself that, look, you were young and you lived and you always just follow your heart more than your brain. And sometimes your heart is going to lead you a different way, even though your brain tells you to do something else. But I think I am that type of person where I want to do what I want to do. And consequences or not, I'm going to do what I want to do. Right. And doesn't always turn out the way I want it to. Sometimes it goes the opposite way, but I had to sit with that. And that is what my decision was. But that yoga training really allowed me to be okay with where I was. And it gave me permission to be stronger and gave me permission to be courageous and brave and to turn my fate around because I didn't have to be a product of anything that's happened to me. And I didn't have to just allow this to define me, but I could just, hey, I'm going to wipe my slate clean and I'm going to be vegetarian now and I'm going to like build up my karma points as my mom would say and I'll be a better person and cuz I went through a stage of my life where I wasn't a great person. I was a bad friend and I lied and I got into some trouble and all those things. Where we're young, right? We make mistakes. We do what we need to do to save our butts in the moment and then not think twice about what could happen to us. But then after realizing all those things and sitting with your thoughts, I just told myself that you can turn a new leaf, forgive yourself, turn a new leaf,
Yeah.
and just change it from here on out and just be better. And I think that was when I really just pushed myself to, you know what, let's be better.
Yeah. 100%. At every given point in your life, you have a choice and you can turn your life around by intentionally making a choice.
Hmm.
You said earlier on that you were the black sheep of the family and you were the middle child. Well, I'm actually the oldest. Well, I'm the oldest of the surviving kids, right? So my mum lost one child before me, and then she lost another one after me. I was 3 months premature. I weighed 1 pound. I was born and I had a kidney removed at birth because it wasn't functioning. So I probably was like this big, and my kidney was probably the size of a kidney bean. And I spent 3 months in the incubator. But there was a plan for my life,
The
right?
odds were stacked against you, but you over.
Yeah. But I overcame that. And my whole life, from birth, has been challenged, right? But I fought and I fought and I did not give up. And so, yeah, I was a black sheep of the family as well. Every given point of your life is a chapter in a book. Those moments are not the book, they are a chapter in the book. So you can rewrite a new chapter. And it's like everything that's happened in our life, if we reflect back and we go, okay, what did this teach me? What was the purpose of this? And then you come to the realization of it, and then you go, okay, well, this is what it is. At that moment that you had that awareness and the realization, you have the opportunity and a choice to rewrite your story in the present moment. And then that is what defines what happens in the future. The past does not define you. The future doesn't define you because it's not even happened yet. But what you do now defines what happens next.
Exactly.
Do you know what mistakes are, by the way?
Do I know what mistakes are? Absolutely.
What are they?
I mean, a mistake is when you do something that you didn't intend to do, right?
Okay.
When you, yeah, make a false move or, right? So something that you may or may not have regretted, but something that you didn't want to do.
Do you know when they make a movie in Hollywood or wherever, and they have a lot of mistakes,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah,
Eventually, you get the right take and you make a multi-million-dollar movie. That's what mistakes are. They're just
a mis.
mistakes.
Yeah,
They're just a mistake. Yeah.
100. Yeah,
And you have every opportunity to get the next take right.
yeah.
So you've built a 7-figure brand, which is incredible. But what kind of success? That kind of success often comes with the learning and really trusting your own decisions. How did you cultivate a deeper sense of self-trust, especially in the moments when you felt uncertain in your business?
I think that the moments where I felt uncertain, I was the only person that I could trust. Because if I felt like the situation was uncertain, or if business had slowed down, or I'm not getting the same response, I have the power to do more, get more exposure somehow, make new content, get on a video, record something, take action. So this was something that I thought about deeply when I was building my business, like in the first couple of months that, I have control of what I'm going to do and I'm never going to let myself wonder where the next client is coming from. And what that means is if I have time to complain that it's slow, even think about where anybody is, I have time to make content, I have time to work, I have time to make calls, send an email, do something, like just be productive. Because every action that I'm taking is going to create a ripple in this ocean of opportunities. You don't know how it's going to come back to you. It's not going to come back in the same way, but you're going to create movement. And that movement is going to gravitate opportunities back to you. So even like I committed to practicing every single night. I committed to, making content even after a long day of work with clients. I'd come home and still spend a couple of hours, like, putting content together, making videos, voiceovers, like planning out what I'm going to do. So I never sat idle thinking about like, oh my God, is it slow? Are you slow? Go on the forum. Hello, are you slow? And I see all these people, like when they're slow, they start to check in and see if everybody else is slow because they're wondering, is it me? Is it the economy? Is it the industry? What's happening? I never do that. I never do that. I'm like, if it's slow, okay, let me call some people. Let me write an email. Let me do something. Let me find something. Just get some buzz going, right? So that's been my mentality this whole time. And I think my first year in the business, we did 6 figures. The second year, we did multiple 6 figures. The third year was when we hit 7 figures. And I posted something on Instagram every single day, like non-negotiable for 3 years until I had my baby. And then I slowed down a little bit. But even to this day, I think the mindset that I always had was that you're in control. And there are going to be outside forces, but when there are outside forces that you have to overcompensate, like I'm going to have to push a little bit harder because this is happening. Or this year, I felt it a lot in this last year alone, just with the political climate, the government, everything that's going on, and people are holding on to their money. The first 6 months of this year was very rough. I had to rebuild my whole academy because I'm no longer teaching with that academy that I was teaching with. My mentor retired. She sold the company. So I had to build my own academy in the last year. And I had to take a hit with my training because I wasn't promoting it as much because I was building a new one. So even this year, I built a new academy. I added a new training course for skin treatments, and I've been promoting it and promoting it. And it takes some time to get it going, right? So 6 months into the year, it was like crickets. Like I wasn't booking as much as I normally did. The clients were slowing down. Half my team left. Honestly, this year I started to feel like, okay, universe, you're testing me again. I'm trying to get to the next level and it's just not working. And I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm showing up and I'm doing the work and I'm doing the reps and I'm praying and I'm meditating and, trying to quantum leap here. And it wasn't working. And guess what? But I believed and I believed and I believed and I kept going and I kept going. I work like from 8 a.m. to 2 a.m. like daily between coaching, teaching, and clients. And all of a sudden in the last month, something happened where I don't know, are people getting their tax returns maybe? And so students started signing up and getting all these demands, consultations coming in, like bookings are coming in, and everything's kind of building that momentum again. But because I spent that last year and a half just grinding, even when nothing was working, and I was starting to lose a bit of hope. And I'm like, am I making the right decisions? I'm investing so much and I'm not getting the return. I'm sweat equity, financial equity, everything is going in the basket and I'm not seeing the return. And I'm starting to shake a little bit, right? But I just keep going, adrenaline, push, keep going. And then somehow I found this opportunity for the PR and the podcasting. And I'm like, I need to get out there. I need to get my word out there. I need to do all this. So now that I've planted so many seeds in the last year and a half that I'm like, it has to work out. It's going to work out. It has to work
Yeah.
out. Every
Yeah.
day I do that.
Yeah. You've got to say that everything is working out for the greater good. And, I do that every morning. I wake up and in my bed and I'm like, everything's working out for me. And I do this thing called segment intending, which is, if you've heard of Abraham Hicks, Esther Hicks talks about this. You know what you're going to be doing today, and you say, this meeting, this is going to happen, and this is going to be a really great meeting. This podcast interview I'm going to be doing is going to be amazing. And you literally put those intentions out there, right? But what you did is you were taking that inspired action. So even though things weren't happening, you had faith that you were trusting the process, that things were going to happen. And you were taking inspired action regardless. What that does is it brings you in alignment with what has been for you.
Right.
So once you started doing that, then the right people started showing up in a space of downturn economy, which people are talking about. There's always people out there that have got money to spend. So
Yeah.
often we think about, oh, well, these are not coming, but maybe we're meant to be aiming a little bit higher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
You've got to be the container to be able to contain what you want. I have a dream, and I'll say this openly. I have a dream to be earning $550 million a year.
that's your dream to make $550 million
That's
a
my
year.
dream. Yeah. Now, the thing is, most people will listen to that and go, "No, you're crazy. How are you going to do that?" Well, I believe that the universe provides, and I have faith that whatever I'm doing now doesn't define what's happening in the future. But if I take that action and if I move towards what I want and I take that inspired action and I'm in alignment with it, it will come to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
every night I'm big on gratitude. I'm big on prayer. I'm big on meditation. And every night I teach my son, he's 5.5, and I ask him to say three things he's grateful for and then to pray for three things, right? So one night he's praying and then he prays for, well, he wants to fly first class. I've never flown first class before, and we travel a lot. And the last trip we took, he asked me, "Are we flying first class, Mom?" And I said, "What do you know about first class? You're 5 years old." And he was like, I said, "What do you know? Why do you want to fly first class?" He said, "It looks cool, it looks comfortable." And then I said, "Okay, well, we're not flying first class. We're flying premium economy, which is really nice still." But so now every night he prays for first class, and then he prayed for $6 million. And I said, $6 million. And I said, "Why not one?" And he says, "Why not six?" And I said, "You got me. You're absolutely right. Why not
We got
six?"
it.
And then he
Yeah.
goes, "'Cause 6, 7." I said, "Okay, son." And then he's like, "I want to fly first class. I want $6 million." And then I said, "What?" And then he said, "I want all the games in the world." So he wants to like buy all the games in the world. That's what he wants to do with his money. And every night the money goal is getting bigger and bigger because, he asked me, "Mom, what's after million?" I said, billion. What's after a billion? Trillion, quadrillion. I had to Google what was after quadrillion. I don't know what comes after that. And so I Googled it. We went all the way to quadrillion, quintillion, septillion, all the way to decillion, which is a one with 33 zeros behind it. So then now he's saying, "I want $6 decillion." And I said, $6 decillion. You can buy all the games in the whole world. I said, you can
Well,
save.
you can own it. You can own the game company.
I said, the richest man in the world only has $1 trillion. And he says, "Yeah, well, I want 6 decillion." I said, "Okay, great, son." You
But
know?
do you know what this proves is that as we get older, as we get more programmed, we lose that childlike
Yeah. And we live.
curiosity, and it will limit ourselves, right? Whereas children, they, who was that? Oh yes, it was. I think it was Jim Britt that I was listening to, and his grandchild says, "Can we get a swimming pool?" He goes, "Oh no, no, we can't get one. Or can we get two then? One for me and one for my sister." Kids don't have that, and this is where we've got to get to a point. We go back to our core self. And because we've built up all this trust and crud over, all the stuff that's happened. I like to use this analogy of a window. When you're at your core, you're a clean window. You can see straight through. Over time, you have, stuff happens, trauma and all that. And all of a sudden it gets smudgy. So you put a piece of paper over it because you don't want people to look at it. Or you have a messy room and basically you close the door when people come so people can't see it. But you're not showing your authentic self. You're not being your authentic self. The minute you start to take the paper off and start to clean the glass, and you get back to that clean glass where you can see straight through, that's where you're at your core authentic self. And we've got to get back to and this is what, as adults, this is what our mission is to get back to who we were before we got programmed by society and all that.
We're here to remember who we.
100%. We
Yeah.
are. We are here to remember who we really are. But so many people are living in this, they're just living in a world where they don't even know who they are.
Feels like a simulation at this point. We're in an episode of Black Mirror or something. That it's getting
100%.
wilder and wilder out there, and people are getting more and more disconnected from their source. Because of all of the programming, social media, the distractions, and they're creating like mental, conditions and disorders in the kids that all have ADD and they all have issues and the autism, like everything. It's getting really crazy. But
Yeah.
honestly, if you just take a step back, and we grew up in the 80s, the 90s, it was a simpler time. Like when you had to remember things, your phone numbers, where you needed to go, and you would just be outside. Like I find the days where there's one day a week where I just don't try not to look at my phone, look at my work at all. Like Sundays, family days, I stay with my family. We do something outdoors. I cook, and I just want to just do things that I love to do without worrying about what I need to do for work. And honestly, it just brings me so much peace, and
Mm,
it allows me to reset and, get back in tune with my health and my mental health, my physical health, spiritual health, all of that. Those three things you need to be nourishing every day in some shape or form, from your mental, if you're, learning something, or your spiritual, like where you're moving your body, all three things. And that's what yoga teaches us, right? The union of the three,
yeah,
and
yeah,
to nourish it every day. And I think the more that I focus on nourishing my soul, the better I show up for every part of my life,
yeah,
my family, my work, everything. I'm less
yeah,
stressed.
yeah.
And we have a million things to think about every day. But does everything need to be so urgent?
No, I have my phone on do not disturb the whole day. So unless it's someone really urgent,
Hmm.
they'll come through. Otherwise, they can wait. So most of the time, I'm in my zone. I'm focused. But what you were saying before about what happened when you were losing, no customers were coming. I had a similar thing happen to me last year, where October last year, I just moved in with my partner into a rental property, and all my clients that I'd been working with disappeared, and I had no income. And
How did they just?
I was working with them. They were coming through another organization,
Mhm.
and I don't know what happened, but they all disappeared. I was like, okay, what's happening here? I had to make a decision. Okay, what do I do with my house? I tried to rent it out, and the rental market was about so stupid. I sat back and paused and went, okay, I've had this house for 7 years. And in that 7 year period, how many redundancies have I gone through? I've gone through 3 redundancies, and I've gone through multiple mortgage holidays, which increased the interest on the house. So how much have I actually paid off my mortgage? And I worked it out. It was $7,000 of my mortgage in 7 years that I paid off.
Only 7,000?
7,000, because every time I went through a redundancy and double mortgage holidays, the interest just kept
Interest was,
piling up.
my goodness, you were just paying the interest.
So I had to make a decision and go, well, do I keep doing what I'm doing and getting the same result, or do I do something different? So I decided to start. Now, in that 7 years, I have not seen my brother his family since I bought the house. My mum passed away in 2018. I got money from her estate. I bought the house, and I've not seen my brother since then. My daughter has not seen her cousins since 2016. And so I said, that's it. I'm selling the house. I sold the house. Within a month, it was gone. I got the money. First thing I did was booked flights. Tomorrow, we get on a plane and we go to Australia. And I'm excited. My daughter's excited. And I've set an intention that going forward, every year, we have to make it to Australia every year without fail, because we can't do this again. So what I've realized is that you can have all the possessions in the world and so on, but what's important is the people in your life. So you go, like you said, your family is important. Yeah. Now, Tanny, for someone who's being feeling burnt out, misaligned, just at a crossroads right now, what is one small, simple action that they could take to start moving towards self-trust, clarity, and without adding more pressure on their plate?
I started to feel burnt out this year, actually, earlier this year, while I was in this push phase, while I'm having to push myself. And I started to feel burnt out because you go through that moment of like, what is this all for? I'm like, my health, I'm tired, my sleep, like all of this. And again, like it wasn't working the way that I wanted it to. And then about a year and a half ago, I had a really bad neck and shoulder pain, and it was just from wear and tear on the job, and working so much that I was neglecting my health. And am in stagnant positions every day, and I wasn't working out. I had to go to the chiropractor, and I think that was a bit of a wake up call for me because I was feeling burnt out. My body was, breaking down, and my chiropractor did an X-ray on my neck, and a normal neck is like curved, and mine was like straight, like forward. So it was bad. And he said, you need to come and see me every 2 weeks for an adjustment for the next 4 weeks. You need to sign up for Pilates. I'm giving you these bands. Go home and do these workouts. You need to do this, and this. Plank the wall after every. So I had a whole list of things I had to do to get back to a healthy place. And I did everything that he told me to do. And I was, again, anytime I'm feeling a little out of whack, I always turn to my journal. I write down everything I'm feeling. I write down, how I can be better, like what I want for myself and how I'm going to get there. And so little by little, I started prioritizing my health. It was a non negotiable. I had to schedule my workouts. And then I also made more time to see my friends because the first 5 years of my business and then COVID and then had my baby and like I didn't see anybody. Like I sacrificed all my weekends. And this is from a social butterfly. Okay. So you can imagine I'm just feeling really depleted. But I got back into just making time for myself, making time for my health, my hobbies, and seeing my friends, dancing, things that I love to do, movement, doing yoga again. And I think when I started taking care of myself and prioritizing that and just trusting that the work will be there, I'm going to do what I need to do. I don't need to like, what is this race? Why am I racing to success? I'm already here. I'm already successful. I already have my home. I have all the things that I need and I just need to maintain it, right? It's like you pray for all the things, you finally get it, and you have to pray for the strength to maintain it. So that can be challenging. But I think if you're feeling down and you're feeling burnt out, look within yourself and see where you can help get your mind healthy, get your body healthy, down to what you're eating, like eat a little bit cleaner, drink your smoothies, drink your greens, eat vegetables, like get the nourishment from the foods from the sun and get that energy back into yourself. Take a walk, like go call a friend, go out, like have a drink, like do whatever it is that you were putting off because you were afraid it's going to deter you from your success. But all of that is a part of your success and it's a part of the journey. And what I've learned, and it might sound cliche, people always say it's not the destination, it's the journey. It's absolutely the journey because you're living your life and you're saying no to all these things because you are stacking and you're planning and you're building wealth. But by the time you get to that place, your friends might not be there. Your health might not be there. Your loved ones might not be there if you chose work over them.
Mm,
So now what I'm trying to do is balance like equal amounts of myself, equal amounts of my family, my friends, my travels, equal amounts of work, and I can manage everything and maintain everything and simplify my life and try to work smarter, not harder. But I think just even taking 10 deep breaths will center you. Taking a walk, going outside, just standing in the sun, a nourishment, having peace, like disconnect from everything and just allow yourself, like you said, go on, do not disturb. Don't talk to anybody for a day. Just have a day to yourself. It's more nourishing than we give it credit for.
yeah, 100%. Totally agree with you. And you've got to connect with nature, connect with yourself as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think the one thing you can do is if you can build a temple within your body and go in and spend time in that temple, then you're going to find all the answers you're looking for. And also connect with nature, as I said before, go for walks. That is so important. And yeah, meditation is also another way. Journaling, get that stuff out of your head. So yeah, absolutely. Now we're coming towards the end of the podcast, so I'd love for you to share how people can connect with you. Also, what you've got on offer in terms of your business, and yeah, just share with us how people can connect with you.
Absolutely. So my business is called Sway Brows, SWAY, Sway Brows. And you can find me at swaybrows.com or on Instagram, Sway Brows. And our business is a permanent makeup studio. So we specialize in the most natural hair strokes tattoos. So I'm known for hair strokes, and the style that's very popular right now are nano brows, which is done with the machine and needle. So any style of eyebrows from hair strokes to shading combination. We also do permanent eyeliner, lip blush. We have the skin rejuvenation treatments through the cold plasma, which is not blood plasma. It's like a plasma energy. So it's a collagen stimulation treatment for tightening, lifting. And then we offer training courses for brows and for cold plasma. I also do business marketing coaching for beauty entrepreneurs. So we coach all different types of artists, not just permanent makeup artists, on how to build their business, implementing the same strategies that we've used in our business through our online presence, content creation, and building your personal brand and business brand. So you can reach me on Instagram is probably the best way. I usually answer all of my messages, and everything can lead you. There's a link tree on my Instagram that leads you to everything that you want to know about me. Or if you want to come and see us for a treatment or for training or for business coaching, I'm more than happy to help.
Awesome. We will put those links into show notes, and also, Tanny, you will get a dedicated page on the Champion Mindset Collective website, and on there'll be your details, your links, a bit about the episode, article, a practical guide that will distill down from the article, so people can download that and actually start to apply that in their lives, and all the videos and so on. Now, we're at the quick fire round, so these are very quick questions. You can answer these in a single word or a short sentence. And the first question for you is, how do you define success, and has that definition evolved for you over time?
I think happiness and peace. I think that's my definition.
Who's been your greatest inspiration and why?
My mom. I think so. Yeah. Why she's endured some really crazy things, and she's still here and smiling and loving every single day. Mm-hmm.
What is something that you believe that others may disagree with?
I believe that we are more powerful than we're capable of, or than we think we're capable of. I think a lot of times people limit themselves. So I think you can do anything that you put your mind to. Might come harder to some than others, but that just means you got to push yourself more. So, yep.
100%. If you could go back and give young Tanny some advice, what would it be?
Tell her to just be who she is and not be afraid. It's all going to work out in the end. And, just keep dancing, keep smiling, keep doing whatever it is that your heart is calling to do, and you will get to where you want to be. Mm-hmm.
What is one message that you'd like to share with the world?
One message that I want to share with the world is I think we should all give ourselves grace, and to give grace to the people around us. I think sometimes there can be too much societal pressure to be someone that we need to be. But at the end of the day, you just need to be who you want to be, and just be a good human, and just allow other people to be who they want to be, and don't take anything personally. Everyone's on their own path. Yeah.
100%. And last question is, what does it mean to you to be a champion and have a champion mindset?
To be a champion, I think you just have to have that unwavering belief and be willing to do the things that other people are not willing to do, to have the discipline to show up even when it's hard and it hurts. And I think being a champion or just getting to that level of greatness means you are mastering your own mind, but also pushing yourself further than you think you can go. So
100%. Yeah, absolutely. Do you have a favorite mindset quote that you like?
favorite mindset quote: if you don't mind, it doesn't matter. So
I like that.
if you don't mind doing the work and doing what you got to do and keep pushing yourself, it won't matter. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Awesome. Tanny, what an amazing conversation. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Loved exploring how important it is to trust yourself, especially when things feel uncertain. And my biggest takeaway from today is that the confidence is built through action, not simply waiting for everything to feel perfect. So Tanny, thank you for joining us and honestly sharing your journey with us today. To all the listeners, make sure that you subscribe to the podcast and share this with someone who may benefit from this. And check out the show notes and the episode page on the Champion Mindset Collective. If you are a business owner and you're wanting help getting some clarity in your own business or maybe in your life, then connect with me, and there's many ways that we can help you. Until next time, keep pursuing the champion mindset. Lastly, I just want to say you are loved, you are worthy, champion your life, champion your greatness, and have an amazing day.